If you've played Marvel Snap, especially during its first year, then you've probably seen the card Iceman. He's a cheap card with a decent effect for the cost. If you spend the 1 energy to play the card, you receive 2 power and the effect on reveal. Give a card in your opponent's hand +1 cost with a maximum of 6. This means that when you play the card, 1 random card in your opponent's hand will cost a bit more energy to play. Now, the affected card cannot be made to cost more than 6 energy. There's a maximum of 6 because there are only 6 turns in a game of Marvel Snap, with each turn giving you 1 more energy than the last. And since there are so few turns in Marvel Snap games, Iceman can have a huge impact. Delaying a 3 energy card to turn 4 is immensely powerful, when that's an extra 1/6 of the game, where that card is unplayable. Now, Iceman isn't played so much nowadays, with Marvel Snap Zones saying that it's only in 0.39% of decks. This is largely because of power creep. In the early stages of Marvel Snap, Iceman was very widespread. In June 2023, 8.2% of all decks included it. The reason why Iceman was so good is because you don't need any synergies for it to be decent. Also, the effect can potentially be game-winning if you hit the right card, so Iceman was easy to fit into any deck with extra space. Iceman has never been changed, with it still having the same cost, power, and effect as it had when it was added to the Marvel Snap beta back in May 2022. However, I'd like to suggest that Iceman's design has one interesting flaw. Iceman is an imperfect, fun vampire. So, what is a fun vampire? Well, it's a term that I just made up, but I'm going to use it to describe game mechanics that give the player fun by messing with their opponent, making them have less fun. In other words, they suck the fun out of the game for your opponent and give it to you. Hence the name Fun Vampire. For examples of fun vampires in other card games, there's Thoughtseize from Magic the Gathering. Thoughtseize lets you look at your opponent's hand and discard a card from it. If you discard something that's pivotal to your opponent's next few turns, you'll feel pretty good, and your opponent will feel pretty bad. The Pokemon TCG has cards like Crushing Hammer, which lets you discard an energy from an opponent's Pokemon, but only if you flip heads first. This one is doubly annoying because there's a 50% chance it does nothing. But half the time, you are happy and your opponent is sad. And for a final example, there's Dirty Rat from Hearthstone. When you play Dirty Rat from your hand, it will summon a minion from your opponent's hand. Summoning something in this way doesn't trigger any on-play effects, aka battle cries. So that means, if you manage to snag a card that your opponent needs for a combo, they don't have many options besides conceding. Are fun vampires like these good design? Maybe. These types of cards feel frustrating when they're played against you, but they do feel fun to play against others. So maybe it's alright for a few cards like this to exist out there. Now, on paper, Iceman looks pretty similar to these other fun vampires. It interacts with your opponent's hand and messes with their game plan. However, there is one key difference. You can't see what Iceman raises the cost of. Sure, Iceman could hit your opponent's Moon Girl, making it impossible for them to play Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur, Devil Dinosaur. However, you can't see any of this happening. Even if Iceman makes a card in your opponent's hand virtually unplayable, you'll never know because they won't ever play that card. Iceman is not a proper fun vampire. Compare Iceman to a card like Yondu. Just like Iceman, Yondu costs 1 energy and has 2 power. Yondu's effect has been changed recently, and it now reads, on reveal, banish the card that costs the least in your opponent's deck. Basically, the cheapest card in your opponent's deck is removed from the match. This is a similar disruptive effect to Iceman's, but Yondu lets you see the card that's being banished. In Yondu's case, hitting an important card still makes the opponent feel frustrated, but since the banished card is visible to both players, the person who used Yondu feels awesome about playing the card. So really, all that I'm saying is that Iceman should show you what it hit. Sure, that would make the card more powerful, which means more people would play it, and then it would be more annoying, but I do believe that it's better designed this way. So really, what I'm trying to say in this video is this. If you're designing a game, it's okay to have fun vampires. Just be sure that the fun that gets sucked out of the opponent's game is given back to the player. With that being said, thanks for watching.